Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. If you were to ask a professional hockey player why they play the game, they will likely give you one of two answers. A, because they love the sport, or B, for the chance to win championships. For the opportunity to lift a trophy at the end of a grueling season and know that they did their part to help their team be recognised as champions of their respective league. The one trophy that every hockey player dreams of lifting is the NHL Stanley Cup. Whilst this historic award has had the names of many a hockey legend engraved upon it, there are of course plenty of players who grace the league that for one reason or another miss out on the legendary trophy. Even some of the greatest players to ever take to the ice, who have since been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame thanks to their career achievements, have never got the chance to hoist the cup. With that in mind, here is my list of 10 Hall of Fame players who never won the Stanley Cup. Number 10, Börje Salming. Known as one of the first European stars in the league, and one of the best defensemen of his generation, Börje Salming spent 17 seasons in the National Hockey League, predominantly with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and scored 787 points in 1,148 games. Though he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1996, thanks to his appearance on the NHL First All-Star team in 1976-77, his 5 appearances on the NHL Second All-Star team, and being a 3-time recipient of the NHL's Viking Award for the best Swedish player, Salming was never able to lift the Stanley Cup due to playing for the wrong team in the wrong era of their history. He didn't even make an appearance in the Stanley Cup finals during his 16 years in Toronto. That's the Maple Leafs for you, ladies and gentlemen, ruining players' dreams since 1967. Number 9, Mike Gartner. A veteran of 19 seasons in the NHL, Mike Gartner spent his career playing for a number of different franchises, but was most famously known as a superstar for the Washington Capitals during the 1980s. Though Gartner would score 1,335 points in 1,432 games, be named an NHL All-Star 7 times, and be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2001, he would also never get the chance to play in a Stanley Cup Finals game, let alone have a chance to lift the cup. He would have finally got his chance to have his name engraved on the trophy as a member of the New York Rangers 1994 championship team if he wasn't traded to Toronto at the deadline just a few months before the Rangers won. If I was Gartner, I would be pretty furious about that trade. But since I'm not, and considering I'm a Rangers fan, I am perfectly fine with it. Sorry, Mike. Number 8, Mark Howe. The son of one of the best players to ever play the game, Mark Howe forged himself a pretty successful NHL career in his own right too. Mark scored 742 points in 929 games, was a 5-time All-Star, won the NHL Plus Minus Award in 1986 with a plus 86 rating, and was inducted into the Hall in 2011. That's not even mentioning his 504 points in 426 games and 2 Avco World Trophies during his time in the WHA. Though he was able to reach the Stanley Cup Finals with the Philadelphia Flyers in both 1985 and 1987, they were beaten both times by Wayne Gretzky and his legendary Edmonton Oilers side. I figure it's important to mention that Howe did get his name on the cup when he served as a video coach and pro scout for the Detroit Red Wings organization when they won 4 cups between 1997 and 2008, but since Mark Howe was inducted into the Hall as a player and he didn't win the cup as a player, I feel he is still eligible for this list. You may disagree and that's fine, but it's my list, so... Number 7, Matt Sundin. A former first overall draft pick by the Quebec Nordiques back in 1989, Matt Sundin was more famously known for his 13-year stint with the Toronto Maple Leafs during the mid-90s and early to mid-2000s. For his efforts, Sundin would score 1,349 points in 1,346 games, win the Viking Award 4 times, be named to the second All-Star team twice, and be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012. However, he would suffer the same fate as many other Maple Leafs legends in the trophy department during the mid to late 20th century, as he failed to help the team lift the cup or even help the Maple Leafs return to the Stanley Cup finals since their last cup victory in 1967. I know, I'm sounding like a broken record now, but I promise that this is the last Maple Leafs legend on this list. I mean, you Toronto fans have suffered enough without me going on about it. Number 6, Brad Park. A former second overall draft pick in 1966 by the New York Rangers, Brad Park became known as one of the best defensemen in the NHL, not named Bobby Orr, during the 70s and early 80s, through scoring 896 points in 1,113 games. In doing so, Park was named to the NHL First All-Star Team 5 times, the Second All-Star Team twice, and won the Bill Masterton Trophy for Sportsmanship in 1983-84 before being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1988. Park did get to play in the Stanley Cup Finals on 3 different occasions, once with the Rangers and twice with the Boston Bruins, but was bested either by the Bruins team he went on to join or their bitter rivals, the Montreal Canadiens. I guess third time really wasn't the charm for Park. Number 5, Dale Hawerchuk. A former first overall draft pick by the OG Winnipeg Jets in 1981, Dale Hawerchuk played 16 seasons in the NHL and scored 1,409 points in 1,188 games. Though he would win the Calder Memorial Trophy for Rookie of the Year and be the first NHL player to reach 1,000 NHL games played before the age of 31, as well as be inducted into the Hall in 2001, the closest Hawerchuk ever got to the Stanley Cup was a loss in the 1997 finals to the Detroit Red Wings during the final year of his career. That must be so heartbreaking as a player, to know that you're gonna call it a day at the end of the season and to make it all the way to the finals, to then get swept in the series and watch the other team lift the trophy you so desperately wanted to win. So close, yet so far, Hawerchuk. I feel for you, buddy, I really do. Number 4, Adam Oates. A veteran of parts of 19 seasons in the NHL, Adam Oates was a prolific point producer during the late 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, with 1,420 points in 1,337 games to his name. Oates was also a 5-time All-Star, led the league in assists twice, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012, but he was never able to lift the Stanley Cup. He did play for a few teams that had won the Cup multiple times, such as Detroit and Boston, as well as teams that had made the finals before, like St. Louis and Washington, but he was just unable to get his hands on the Cup. Though he would miss out on hockey's greatest prize, for an undrafted player, Oates had a pretty incredible career. There are plenty of top draft picks that have reached no way near the heights that Oates did. Neil Yakupov. Number 3, Vladislav Tretiak. Considered the best goaltender in the world during the 1970s as a member of the Soviet Union hockey team, Vladislav Tretiak never played in the NHL, due to the rough relationship between the USSR and North America at the time, and the Soviet Union wanting to keep their players at home to create the best hockey program in the world. During his playing days in the Soviet League, Tretiak was named first-team All-Star for 13 straight years between 1971 and 1984, won the league title with the Red Army team 13 times, and was named league MVP 5 times too. Internationally, Tretiak was also a force to be reckoned with, as he won 3 Olympic gold medals, 10 gold medals at the World Championships, the 1979 NHL Challenge Cup, and the 1981 Canada Cup. Fun fact, he is also the first player who was born, trained, and played hockey outside of North America to be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. After all, in Mother Russia, hockey plays you. Number 2, Phil Housley. One of the greatest defensemen in NHL history, Phil Housley played parts of 21 seasons in the NHL and scored 1,232 points in 1,495 games. Good enough for 4th place all-time for points by a defenseman. Whilst he would be named an All-Star 7 times, lead the league's defenseman in goals both in 1987-88 and 1991-92, and be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015, Housley spent most of his career on teams that still haven't won a cup to this day. Of his 21 seasons, he spent 8 of them with the Buffalo Sabres and 3 of them with the OG Winnipeg Jets. That's over half of his career. He did also suit up for several teams who have won the cup multiple times, such as the New Jersey Devils and the Chicago Blackhawks, but he was either too early or too late to the party. Timing is everything, folks. And besides, Housley is now the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, so he has moved on to bigger and better things. What's that? He got fired? Oh. And number 1, Marcel Dionne. One of the greatest goal scorers in NHL history, Marcel Dionne racked up 1,771 points in 1,348 games during his 19 years in the league. Though he would begin his career with the Detroit Red Wings after being selected 2nd overall by the team in the 1971 draft, and he would finish off his career in a 2-year stint with the New York Rangers, Marcel Dionne was best known for his 12-year stint with the Los Angeles Kings, where he scored at least 100 points in 7 of his seasons with the team. Unfortunately though, this individual success couldn't translate to a Stanley Cup championship, as his Kings team were unable to even make it past the 2nd round of the playoffs. In fact, Marcel Dionne wouldn't make it past the 2nd round in any year that he played in the league. He played nearly 2 decades and has gone down as one of the best goal scorers to ever play the game, yet he couldn't make it to the conference finals, let alone the Stanley Cup finals. Somebody help a brother out. He can't do it all himself. It just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, that one superstar player alone can't win your team a championship. I'm looking at you, Edmonton Oilers. And that was my list of 10 Hall of Fame players who never won the Stanley Cup. What do you think about this list? Did I miss anyone obvious out? There are still plenty of players that are eligible for this list that I could make a whole nother video on, so feel free to leave a comment down below if you want me to make a part 2. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. A big thank you to Andy, Chris Gadsby, Dave, David, Kalesbro, Martin Tolness, Matt DeWild, Max Artis, and Nat Marlowe, as well as a huge thank you to Cam Montgomery and Ryan Todd for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.